Warning. The Maverick Marketer is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious coach, trainer, consultant, or speaker who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches, without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Drew Edwards. The Maverick Marketer is unleashed.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Maverick Marketer Unleashed podcast. This is Drew Edwards from EliteClientAttraction.com and MaverickMarketerUnleashed.com, and we are, of course, joined by our co-host Terry. Terry, how are you today?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Cold, but good. It's a bit nippy here in the UK today, but yeah, apart from that, really good.
Good stuff. And our very special guest today is Damion Lupo. Damion, how are you?
I am fantastic, man. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Damion, for anyone who's listened to this and who hasn't heard of you before, can you just give us sort of a brief intro to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm actually from Alaska, so my Texas twang is made up and it's totally manufactured. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, basically, and have started 30 plus businesses. Have had some crazy stories, roller coasters in the real estate world with guerrilla marketing and blowing up businesses. And today, I run a company that is focused and obsessed with disrupting Wall Street and the system that keeps people trapped financially, and is focused on empowering people instead and giving them control of their money and their financial future. And so this is really all about, the message is all about self-responsibility and control so that people can choose their life instead of living a life by default. Awesome.
I love that. Disrupting Wall Street. Tell us more about that, what exactly that means, please, Damion.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Disrupting Wall Street is all about bringing awareness to people that this message they've been convinced and told that they're supposed to take their money and hand it off to a broker or a bank and hope in 30 or 40 years the money will be bigger and it'll grow. And we're saying that is absolutely false. It's not real. It's a scam. The only one that wins really there is the bank, the broker, the Wall Street, and there is another way. And you don't know about it because it's not profitable for the system. It's profitable for you. And so what we're doing is we're giving people control to where they end up having money in their hand. They have all their retirement money. In the US, there's a 401k and an IRA. Typically, that's invested in stocks and mutual funds. And what we're telling people is, hey, you know what? There's a whole world of investments. If you want to get out of Wall Street jail and you want to take that money and be able to invest it in businesses, in maybe marketing or in real estate or gold and silver, all these cool things that you control, you can do that. And they go, wait a second, what? I didn't know I could do that. That doesn't sound real or right. And what we're doing is educating people on that option, giving them the tools and the confidence to go out there and invest and create that future without Wall Street knocking them down and stealing what they've put in with all their fees and the limited options that they're told that they have.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I mean, Damon, I do want to find out more about that as we sort of go through the interview and also more about your background as well. But I mean, before we get into the core content of the interview, can you tell us something that most people don't know about you? So an interesting and funny story that you perhaps don't share that often with a sort of a bigger audience like this.
Yeah, gosh, all the stories. How many times have I defied death? Or, let's see. So one of the things that most people don't know about me is that in my 20s, I was a real big adrenaline junkie. So that included going high rates of speed with things like I bought a Ferrari one time, and so I decided I needed to go real fast in that thing. I went even faster when I was skydiving. So I decided to take up skydiving, and I jumped 4 times. The first time I lost my right arm. The second time I lost my left arm. And the third time my chute failed and I had to use the reserve. So if that wasn't bad enough that I almost died hitting a power line on the way down, I jumped a fourth time and I actually landed okay. But when I landed, I was all excited and thought I didn't die. My arms still work. And then it found out that the space shuttle had exploded over me when it was re-entering the atmosphere over Arizona and Texas. And I realized the universe was telling me to stop jumping out of planes. This is a bad idea. And next time we may end up in World War III. So I gave up skydiving and focused on other things.
So I'm going to share something. If you'd given me a call and told me you were going to do that, I would have given you that message. Don't do it.
Where were you 10 years ago? Golly.
But you're a real adrenaline junkie, though, aren't you? Fast cars, skydiving. What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think that's part of being 20 and full of excitement and not realizing that you're mortal and that you actually can get run over by a train.
Yeah, totally get that. And have you, if you're my asking, have you kind of calmed down? Do you seek that kind of adrenaline now?
You know, my adrenaline is picked up in other places. I've definitely created. It's a calmer, gentler version of me. I teach martial arts, and it used to be about flipping up in the air and crashing down as loud and hard as I could. And now it's more of a gentle approach, and I get every bit as much fulfillment out of it. But I can actually walk the next day, and so I don't need to go 200 kilometers an hour and try to run into a wall. I'm happy standing still as much as I am free falling out of an airplane.
Good, glad to hear it. And but by the way, just to you know, because I suspect I'm a little bit older than you, Damion. A lot of that's to do with just getting older, and your body's thinking, I can't take this anymore.
No, that's right. I realize that. I always laugh when I'm talking to people that are 20 years old, and I go, I remember when I was 20, and boy, you know, you'll learn. And I heard the same thing from people, so I think it's part of the passage through life.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Damion, tell us a bit more about your background. I mean, I know you've sort of had a real entrepreneurial past, but tell us sort of where you started your entrepreneurial journey and how you ended up where you are now.
All right, guys. So my original background, but like my first business when I first got going was really back in Alaska when I was 11, and I started up a Nintendo business. So that kind of dates me and ages me a little bit. I wanted to play video games, and when I wanted to play them, I didn't have any money, and my parents were basically telling me a lot of things about how we didn't have any money. It was a scarcity message, and I rejected that. I said there's got to be another way. So I found a way to go into the wholesale retail business with Nintendo games, hired my parents, and started making money and getting access to all the video games I could ever play. And so that was really what spurred this idea that I can create wealth and I can do it on my terms, and I don't have to do what everybody else does with their parents giving them an allowance or whatever people do to get money. And that just kept me hungry. And ultimately, I went to college, went to university, and that didn't work because I started a business in one of my dorm rooms, and the college said, you have to stop your business, because I was putting the bookstore out of business. And they said, if you stay in business, if you stay here, they're going to leave. And I said, well, this is paying for school. And they said, well, leave or shut down. And I decided to stay in business, and I left school paying for school in 3 days. And that just kept me in the mindset that I was an entrepreneur and I was not meant to be part of the system. So that led to getting into real estate, into that whole real estate investing world where you read one of the get rich quick books, you see a commercial on television, and you say, I can do that. And when you're 22 years old, anything seems possible. So I went out and started doing the real estate business, buying my first house on my credit card. And from there, it sort of went vertical and ended up doing a lot of business, bought 150 houses. And I got really, really, really smart in my own mind. I was the smartest guy I knew until the universe ran over me with a freight train.
What happened? I'm intrigued. What happened?
Well, like anybody that makes a lot of money early and thinks that they are actually totally responsible for it, that had nothing to do with timing, I thought, well, shoot, I've got millions of dollars that's come in, and so I can do no wrong. I'm mistake proof. I'm invincible. I'm 10 feet tall. And so I had all this money from these properties I'd bought and sold and rented, and then I decided I should do 10 times more. So I followed Grant Cardone's stuff about 10x before it was popular, and I went out and bought and developed large apartments and condos and all these properties. And I was really, really, really reckless in terms of how fast I was going. And it wasn't so much that that was bad, it was that I wasn't listening to anyone. I decided that I was the smartest one in the room, and even though I had some pretty smart mentors, I stopped listening to them. And eventually my ego was writing checks that I couldn't cash. And in 2008, there was a market meltdown that hit a lot of people, and I had so much stuff out there that was not foundationally or fundamentally strong, because I thought I could do no wrong and I couldn't possibly make a mistake. So at one point in 2007, I had 7 different projects that I thought my estimate was I was going to make $1 million from each one of them. And in my mind, I thought, well, shoot, if 1 or 2 of these goes bad or doesn't quite work out, I'm still going to make another $5 or $6 million. A year later, every one of those 7 projects had failed. And so not only did I not make the million, I lost $1 million-ish on each one of them. So it was a complete flip-flop. You can never underestimate or overestimate how wrong you can be. And I just hadn't set the foundation up because I was going Mach 4.
Wow. Joe, I know you want to ask Damion. I just want to ask a question, just really for explanation. I think you just said, I understand, but I just would really like to hear what your explanation is. You said earlier that you rejected the scarcity message from your parents. For those who don't know what you mean by that, what do you mean by that, please, Damion?
Yeah, Drew, Terry, I looked at things as a question of, how can I do this? And I'd heard one of my mentors and ultimately a friend, Robert Kiyosaki, make this claim at one point, or the suggestion. He said, if you say I can't afford something, you should be asking, how can you afford that? And I went from the mindset from my parents saying that you can't do things. I said, I don't believe in that. I believe that it's a question of creating it with your mind. And so I'm going to ask the question, how? That's a great question, and it's also incredibly dangerous if you don't know why, or should you. So I was asking, how can I create things? And forget about scarcity. I believe in the world full of abundance and opportunity. And so I was creating, but it was only for more money. It didn't have to do with anything that mattered more than money and shiny objects. So yeah. Abundance is awesome. It's amazing. I totally believe in that, and I do reject scarcity. I reject that there's a limited amount or a glass ceiling. I categorically reject that. It's important to not just chase a bigger bank account or just more houses and more shiny objects, because you end up where I was in 2008, a shadow of a person on the edge in a dark space, wondering who I was because all the money went away, and that was who I was. It was my self-worth. The money was who I was, and I was lost.
Wow. Great stuff. And Damion, what sort of lessons or big takeaways did you take from losing everything, for want of a better word? What's sort of the biggest takeaway you got from that?
And the biggest takeaway was that when I'm looking at my goals, when I'm creating my life, and I do this every single day, I think about what I want, I write it down, I'm sharing it with people, I have visuals of these things. It's not just more stuff, and it's not just an outcome. The thing I would share with everyone is that if you're not enjoying the process, if you're not growing in the middle of the thing, and it's all about that outcome at the end, you're going to have it's going to be a real awakening in that moment when you actually achieve that thing, if you do, because it's fleeting. It's not, and this is cliche, but it's really not about the event. It's about that journey. It's about the process. And I was all about just that moment where I'd have a bigger check coming in, and I was killing myself. I mean, one thing I haven't really shared with many people is that at one point I was passing out. I was falling over, and in my mid to late 20s, this is not normal. And I was so unhealthy because of the amount of stress that I thought I had cancer or something. And so I went to the Mayo Clinic and spent a week there being tested and poked and scanned. And they came back and they said, we can't find anything wrong with you. You might just be stressed out. And what was happening is I was absorbing all the stress because it wasn't for a higher purpose. It was just for more. And my body was breaking down. And so the lesson there is, you're going to get feedback from your body. You're going to get feedback from stress that shows up in different forms. And if you just ignore that and keep pushing, it may end up kicking your ass and killing you. It also may be that you're on the wrong path, or maybe you're just growing. But it's important to at least acknowledge when that stress shows up and not just ignore it.
And just on that, there's so many lessons in this. When you were, as you said, you were 10 feet tall, and you felt you could do no wrong, and you were achieving what it was you want to achieve. When you achieved your goal, I'm just curious, Damion, how did you feel at that time? If you got another big check in, it's purely materialistic. How did you feel at that time, if you don't mind me asking?
There was a moment. There was the day before the check. So if I had a check, let's say there was a week. I remember a number of weeks in 2005 where I was selling a few houses and the market had gone bananas, and so I would have $250,000 or $300,000 that was coming in on a Friday. This is cash, and I'm going, okay, this is a good week, and pretty much everybody would say that's a great week. And I was excited the day before on Thursday, and when the money came in Friday, I went, okay, now what? So those moments, it was all about the process up, the excitement building it, all that time up to the moment. And once I got to the moment, it was like, okay, what's different? Nothing. And then I went right back to work, and I was still going for more. So it wouldn't have mattered if I had 200 of those things and I had $50 million. It wouldn't have made any difference because it was never enough. And that was I see this all the time with people I've worked with clients, where it tends to be they want a certain number, and then they're going to be happy, and then everything is going to be good.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I go, don't make the same mistake I did, because it's never enough to make you truly whole or happy or secure. The security is in your confidence and your ability to create, because if they take everything away and you have the confidence, you're still rolling, you're still happy, you're not scared that it was just a one-time event, and it creates a level of peace. The anxiety is thinking, I just need to get to that event and then everything's good. Well, then you're in a state of total fear that you're going to lose that stuff. So it's all about developing the confidence, which is, I think you guys were talking about this on a previous episode, and it's about not being obscure. It's about going through the things that you're afraid of. It's about getting out there, and once you start doing that, it's uncomfortable, you're growing, you're getting better, and then you have the confidence to do it again. And so you may lose all your money. Well, who cares? You're ready to go. You can go out there and make it again. You can create. It's that confidence that is true wealth. I truly believe that's worth more than $10 million or pounds in the bank.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. And really appreciate it, Damion, and for your frankness as well. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Damion, how would you describe your relationship with money and wealth now? I mean, I know obviously you've been through a lot, you've had ups and downs, but how would you describe your relationship with money and wealth now?
My relationship with money and wealth today is probably the opposite of what it was 10 years ago. And so 10 years ago, I was focusing on the money, and today, as if that was the focus and that was the thing that I was going to go get. Today, my relationship with it is a trust that by focusing on the right things, the thing that is going to have a significant impact in society with other people, the thing that's going to create value for the most people, there's going to be an offshoot, a 90-degree effect. And this had to do with Buckminster Fuller when he talked about things about the effect in nature with bumblebees and how they go out and they do this one thing, and the offshoot is cross-pollinating all of the flowers. They're not thinking about cross-pollinating the flowers. They're thinking about the honey. They're thinking about doing their thing, and it has nothing to do with the ultimate reason that they're there. And people get obsessed about the money. I used to be obsessed about the money. Now I'm obsessed about what I'm doing to elevate people, which means the more I do of that, the more money keeps showing up, the more the financial wealth shows up. And I don't look at wealth as money, because money to me is just options, and it just gives you flexibility to make choices. So I'm not obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with creating more for more people, because like I think it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, maybe it was Zig Ziglar, said, you can have anything you want in your life if you'll help enough other people get what they want. And so I'm helping people get what they want, which is control of their lives. The more I do that, the more that I step out of my comfort zone to touch more people and to share this with you guys, and people hear this, the more it's going to create this abundance in my life. If I'm just trying to get a bunch of cash, then what am I really doing to serve anybody or anything except for myself? That's who I was. I reject that. That doesn't work for anybody long term, and that's what this is. It's a long term game.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Damion, you've mentioned Zig Ziglar, you've mentioned Jim Rohn. These are all great, and Grant Cardone you mentioned a bit earlier. For you, in the public sphere, who's been the biggest influence on your career in terms of those type of guys? I'm gonna ask you a two-part question. So, who's been the biggest influence in terms of those type of guys, and who's your biggest influence? And it would be somebody now that we don't know as well. So, two-part question there, Damion.
So there's two guys that have been huge influences in my development and who I study. Grant is one of them. I mean, I listen to Grant and I read Grant every day for an hour or two. I mean, I say the word obsessed all the time because I'm obsessed. I take that message and I run with it because I think it's so powerful, and I think we need more people obsessed. So I've been studying him for a while. The other one is Steve Siebold, and he's the mental toughness guy. He's one of my coaches, and I spend time with him, and he focuses on the world class, and it's a world class thinking and showing up the way that world class. And I'm not talking necessarily about rich people. It's beyond that. It's a totally different energetic level of being, and so I study him and pay attention to how he shows up and his philosophies. Those are the two guys that are influenced, that have influenced me probably more than anybody else, at least in the last few years. And the one guy you haven't heard about, but you would if you take a look at my book Reinvented Life, is the co-author, and his name is Christopher Ashby. And for years, he and I have been having conversations. He's the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life. I don't know anybody academically that is smarter. And in addition to the academic, the guy has 2 PhDs, a law degree, an MBA. He's a CPA. The guy has more credentials than Campbell's alphabet soup. I mean, it's out of control. and he's the most caring, loving person ever. So you bring that together, and it's truly exceptional to have the emotional and financial intelligence, and they're wrapped up in this one person named Christopher Ashby.
Christopher Ashby, I look him up, and that's really, I found really, and just something you said there, just really interesting. Grant Cardone, how long have you been following or been obsessed with him, so to speak?
Gosh, I think that my first introduction to Grant, I think I've been studying him for the last, I want to say about 2 years, which is funny because when you study someone so hard, you're immersed, and it's like a language. I'm literally sitting in the middle of like Cambodia learning the local language, and it's Cardone language, and so 2 years could be the equivalent of somebody studying a language for a lifetime, because I immerse and obsess about what he says. I love one of the things he said, and this could apply to anybody that's someone's studying it, and it is to not necessarily think that reading 100 books is the best plan, because you just bounce off the information and you're really not absorbing it at a deep level. It was picking something that really resonates with you and almost studying it like the Bible, like just really getting into it, read it over and over and practice it and talk about it with your friends, and really like the mastermind groups that people have. Having a book that resonates with the author and the energy of it, and going deep into it, and then just showing up and refining how you apply whatever is in that book. That to me is far more powerful than having hundreds of different ideas that you're sort of toying with and bouncing around with. It's going deep.
You're listening to Maverick Marketer Unleashed podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.maverickmarketerunleashed.com.
Fantastic, yeah.
Damion, talk to us about the green, or what you call the green and red arrows of wealth and poverty.
Yeah, the green and red arrows. This is one of my clients earlier this year brought this up, and she said when she was invested in the markets, when she had her mutual fund, she had her stocks, every day she would look at the television and she would see that the market had done this or the market had done that, and there was a green arrow when the market went up, and there was a red arrow when the market went down. And so every day she and her husband would look at these at the news, and if they saw a green arrow, they felt a little richer. They felt like there was prosperity and abundance. And at the same time, they thought, what if it goes down tomorrow? So there was an anxiety that the market would maybe go down the next day. So they were still nervous, even when the green arrow happened. And when the red arrow happened, because the market had dropped, they went, oh, we're poorer now, even though their life that day and the next day wasn't going to change at all. The emotional connection to those arrows was driving them into this state of total panic and fear, like most people, because most of their assets were tied to something that they could not influence, control, or change. They had no impact or ability to impact it. And so it's a very debilitating way of engaging with money to see that these arrows are having that type of trigger stimulus effect on you.
And so in terms of your teaching, what is it you would advocate around the green and red arrows?
What I would advocate is to opt out. Guys, I want people to realize that they have a choice. They can say, I don't want to be a part of that system. I want to do things. Like, for example, I love real estate. I don't necessarily love the super inflated prices in a lot of stuff today. However, I love real estate, and it's because I can touch it. I can do something to it. I can influence it, and it keeps paying. It doesn't matter whether the house or the apartment gets really valuable or drops in value. There's still people that are there that are paying their rent. And so I like it because I'm not at the mercy of somebody in New York City or London or wherever that can manipulate things, and it's all about maybe that thing will grow to $1 million or £1 million one day. I don't care about any of that. So my thinking is there's probably a lot of value in most people saying, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of something I control, that I make the choices.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff here, Dave. Sorry, Drew. Yeah, go on.
Damon, I wanted to ask, what's your views on retirement? Retirement is like a 4-letter word to me. I look at retirement and I say, why in the world would anyone want to retire? This is one of those ideas that was an industrial age idea where people were looked at. Retirement was a time when you physically couldn't work in the mill or the field, and you were basically done. And so we've been convinced, because of that industrial age idea, that we're supposed to go do something for a period of time, 30, 40 years, and then we get to live this great life. A couple of things with that. One, I don't think that it makes any sense to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 years old to start living. My suggestion for everyone is to find those things that you look out and want to do when you're down the road, and start doing those in your life now, and live while you still have the youth. It makes a lot of sense to do that. And two, this is a bigger philosophical thing and spiritual idea, that if you are focused on retiring, you're saying, I'm going to be done. And my belief is that if you tell the universe, if you tell the world that you are done, that the universe and the world is going to be done with you. And there's a reason that the average male in the United States, in particular, the statistics that I know as to be fact, the average male is dead within 3 years of retirement, because there's no purpose, there's no drive, there's no contribution. It's about the contribution, and there's no stimulation for the mind. And so basically the universe says, okay, you're just taking up space at this point. And if you're just taking up space, you're in the way for people that are progressing and in a universe that's expanding and growing. So I reject the idea of retirement. When I hear that, I basically run.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually. I have a number of friends, probably half a dozen friends, and some have done exceptionally well, and it's meant that they could retire in their mid-40s. I've got a very, very close friend. He retired at just under 60. All of them, by the way, hated it. And what you said that was really interesting, struck a chord. One of the things they talked about, they just lacked purpose. They said they will wake up in the mornings like, previously they run businesses, and they were kept very busy, and they had goals and objectives. And they said once they sold the business, it was like, well, you can only go on holiday so often. And it's interesting what you said there. You've really reinforced what they all said. They absolutely, and all of them, with the exception of one, have gone back into business and thought, do you know what? I worked hard for this retirement, but it's not what they really wanted.
No, Drew, Terry, you guys, why would you want to work your ass off just so you could have an event where you made a bunch of money and then start living down the road? Why would you not want to integrate living the whole way through. And what are you going to do? Go golfing or go crocheting for the next 40 or 50 years? Like, seriously, that's going to last about a week or two. Maybe it'll last a year. You've got to have something that's driving you, that's firing you up. And I mean, one of the things that I think is so profound, people that have gone through a process that are 40, 50, 60 years old have all this wisdom. And the richest place full of wisdom is a cemetery. It's a graveyard where all that wisdom is buried. I think this is one of the things that people can do, especially younger people, is to reach out to people that have retired. Give them something, an opportunity to share that wisdom, and then you leverage off of that so you don't have to go make the same stupid mistakes. I mean, mistakes are out there, but we don't need to make the exact same ones over and over again that other people have made. And then you start to give them a gift, which is allowing them to teach. It's my favorite thing to do. I love teaching and sharing. I don't love doing it with people that tell me that I'm wrong or stupid. I don't pay attention and don't actually do something with it. So there is this untapped wealth that is sitting in people that have quote unquote retired, and it is also a gift to them to start bringing them back to life before they stop breathing.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, and by the way, you say, how long can you do crochet for? In my experience, Damion, for quite some while actually, and I do, and I quite enjoy it. But,
Congratulations.
Damion, what advice would you give to somebody listening to this who wanted to become financially free? What I guess 3 pieces of advice would you give to somebody listening to this who wanted to be generate enough wealth to be financially free?
3 things, guys, for financial freedom. 1, you've got to be really clear about where you are and where you want to go, and that it needs to be defined. It's the idea of a SMART goal, meaning it's got to be there have to be numbers around that. If you say I want to have lots of money, or okay, it's great. So like, what does that mean? And where are you today? If you're $8 million in debt, and you've got a job making $100,000 a year, you're going to have a problem. So you got to get real clear about where you are and where you want to be. And it needs to be the optics of it need to be very clear. The path from here to there is all about accountability. And it's about, we can talk about having our friends that are helping us or giving us feedback. We can even say we're going to write stuff down and we're going to look at it. My thinking, and I did this in March when we launched this company, was to hire a world-class coach right up front that's constantly asking you hard questions, somebody that you absolutely trust and respect to give you candid feedback on what they see, somebody that's been there, someone that is wise, that has the experience, not just has studied a book, but someone that's going to say, here's what I'm seeing, and you go, you know what, you're saying that because you get it, you know it, you've been there, and you can get that constant feedback. It helps you to course correct very quickly. And the third thing with financial freedom that is the opposite of what's why I hate Wall Street, this whole idea of having a big pile of money. Financial freedom is not about just a big pile of money. It's about, and this is something that I've heard, and most people that have listened to Robert Kiyosaki have heard him say over and over, cash is trash and cash flow is king. Finding ways to create cash flow, because the reality is we're going to spend money, we're going to spend to live every day, every month. And so to create financial freedom, we need to have things, vehicles, and that could be real estate, it could be a business, it could be royalties from books, whatever, that's constantly paying us so that whatever we do this month, it doesn't matter. And here's what I mean by that. If I have $1 million that I've saved up or I've grown, and I make a huge mistake and I'm 60 years old and I decide to buy 4 Ferraris and I crash all of them and I forgot to get insurance, I don't have any more. I'm done. I game over. I'm toast. And I don't have time to rebuild that. If I have built up a portfolio of real estate and I'm making 10, 20, 30,000 a month, and I go spend all of that on anything, and I go, holy crap, I wake up hungover and it's gone, I'm going to have that same amount of money coming in next month. The cash flow is what matters. It's not about the cash. The cash creates anxiety. The cash flow creates peace.
Great quote, that. Excellent. Cash flow is king. Awesome.
So, I mean, talk to us a bit more about that. What are some things that we can invest in to create cash flow?
Great question. Cash flow can come. So the idea of cash flow, I think for most people, real estate immediately pops up. Having a rental house or a flat, having apartments, those are probably the easiest places for people to understand and to start pursuing. And my suggestion is always to start small on that and cut your teeth. Okay, so that's one place that people can go. Doing things like publishing a book. We live in a digital age where people are able to put an idea together and have a book, and now you have royalties. Every month I get a check from Amazon for books that I wrote 4 or 5 years ago, and sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's $1,000, sometimes it's more. That is continual income that I'm not having to work for. It's the work has been done. So finding things you can plant seeds in. So it could be digital media. It could be a franchise, some type of sandwich shop that you do, or you do with a partner. There's a whole world of ideas, and really probably Google is a great place to find a lot of those things that I can't even think up right now. Those just happen to be my favorites, the real estate and the digital media. And the digital media you can do from anywhere. So there's this freedom around geography and where you're creating it from. You're not locked down to a place or a particular system. It's constantly evolving, and the options are expanding. So I love that space, and you can continue to share more and more. I truly believe we live in the coolest time and the coolest age ever, because we have all these options. It's just about planting seeds and seeing what works, and what works, do more of it.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is fantastic. What I get from you, Damion, is that you walk the talk, and the passion and the enthusiasm that comes out as you share this with us. It's contagious. It really is, and I'm sure the listeners that listen to this will feel exactly the same way, because that it is really contagious, isn't it, Drew?
Yeah, it is.
What you're sharing with us, and you've been really honest as well. I picked that up right at the very beginning. You talked about some of the mistakes you made, and that's fantastic. So I'm curious, then, what's been the biggest breakthrough for you in your business over the last 12 months or so?
Biggest breakthrough the last 12 months, it's understanding that the people that are around us may very well be the most powerful and important influence and catalyst or reason that we're either quote unquote successful or not. I also feel like there's a massive amount of fulfillment. So in my book Reinvented Life, there's a chapter called Success versus Fulfillment. And we can make a lot of money, we can do a lot of things on our own. What I've found in the last 12 months, because of the team that has joined me and my co-founder on this mission that we're doing, and everybody was here, everybody flew in a couple days ago, and we spent the weekend together, and there was the vibration and the joy and the excitement. I mean, you think that I'm excited now. I was levitating, I was like hovering over the table during our conversation this weekend, because there's this enthusiasm that as a team, as a family, we were creating something together. And I've never done that before, where I had people that were so passionate and committed to a shared vision, and were willing to do whatever it takes. And they were going, okay, what else can I do? And it was just this, it was humbling to see people in that space. And I'm talking world-class people. There isn't anybody on my team that is not world-class. And that changes everything when you say, I'm not willing to have anything average around me. If it's average, it gets rejected. If it's scarcity, it gets rejected. I'm obsessed about world class. I'm obsessed about abundance. And by the way, the other one that I would highly suggest, the other person is, and endorsed like crazy, is Peter Diamandis, the one that wrote Abundance, because his worldview is so big and so optimistic with everything that's happening technology-wise. You can't help but to be excited. We could have a disaster of an election, a terrible war breaking out, and this guy will give you perspective on how good things are and that they're getting better. And having a team that's all thinking like that, it changes everything. You're not stuck. You keep moving forward, and you're so excited about the future because you know it's far brighter than the past.
What was that author's name for Abundance? Peter
Diamandis.
Diamandis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. And his book's Abundance, you say, Damion?
Yeah, his first book was Abundance, and his second book was Bold. He's the one that's responsible for the X Prize, so the private space flight that happened, and this whole thing that Richard Branson bought, and is now they're doing private flights into space, and he wants his mission. One of his focuses, he does a lot of things called moonshots, and he has one of his programs to take a private rocket space shuttle and go to these asteroids that are coming near the Earth and mine them. And I look at a guy like that and I go, he's actually doing this. He's creating what needs to happen to make that happen. He's solving big problems like illiteracy, like disease. He's fixing big problems by bringing people together using technology to solve the worst things that are out there. And he's not thinking about limits or limited scarcity thinking. It doesn't exist in his world. It's so cool to be in that space. So I just basically go into a bubble and have that influence. It's not that I'm naive that there isn't bad stuff out there. It's that I don't choose to focus on that and stay in that space. I acknowledge it and I keep focusing on a bigger, brighter future.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Great stuff. Damion, one of the things that is mentioned on your website and in one of your books as well is this EQRP. Can you tell us sort of a bit more about that? What is it, and how is it helpful?
Yeah, guys, the EQRP is the patented and it's the tool that we've created to give people this control over their retirement money. And essentially what it is, it's the car. We're providing the car. So once they get the car, they have, and the car right now is Wall Street for most people, where they go, okay, I've got this car, I don't get to drive it, I don't have a license, it's stuck in New York City. And we're saying we're going to give you the car so you can take all your money and move it into this car that you have had stuck in the stocks and mutual funds. We're going to give you the car, and we're going to teach you how to drive this car, and you can take the car and you can go invest however you want. Ultimately, people end up with a checkbook. So big picture, you have money is stuck in mutual funds. When we set up an EQRP for you, you're going to have a checkbook that you get to write checks to invest basically however you want. If that's in real estate, if it's in businesses, whatever that looks like. A lot of people like to buy gold and silver. They like to have the power and control to hold their wealth in their hand, literally like a pirate. They hold it and they're super excited because nobody can touch it, and it's like it's real to them. And this gives you that choice to be able to be in control and in charge, and nobody's going to be able to mess with it.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. And I'm kind of skipping about here, you know. I keep coming back to this because you share some gems, and you've shared some great authors, and you recommended books and so on. And earlier you talked about your the big influences on your life in terms of your business, and the likes of Grant Cardone, etc. Do you actually? I think I know the answer to this. When you shared that answer with us, do you have a personal one-to-one coach, or do you have a coach that looks at the business and works with the entire business, Damion?
I do. I am a fan of doing what I suggest to people. So if I say this is a good idea, I'm telling you that because I'm doing it, and I don't have a lot of trust or faith in people that suggest something and do something else, do the opposite. So I absolutely have a coach. It was the first person that we hired. We hired this person without any revenue, without hardly a game plan. And I pay this person, we pay him $30,000 a year to be a coach, and it's for a weekly conversation. And so we have that influence every single week. He was actually here with us this weekend doing work with the whole team and coaching the whole team. And it was powerful. One of the moments of clarity and power was when he challenged some of the ideas in a very professional, very powerful way, and made everybody go, maybe we should do something different. And it was only from his mind, his point of view, that question would have come up. So a world-class coach is, I can't imagine operating without one. There's nobody in the professional sports world that would not have one. And the dumbest thing someone can say is, well, well, yeah, that's cool, but I can't afford that. I'm going to get one once I have money. That's like Michael Phelps saying, once I win a gold medal, I'll have a coach.
Yeah.
That gave me a break. You've got to have the person giving you feedback from the beginning. That's how you become world class.
Yeah, and I endorse, and like, you know, people listen to go, well, you're bound to endorse what you said there, no, because I am a coach, but I do agree with 100%. And the other one that kind of always leaves me speechless is when I talk to other coaches and they don't have a coach. And
right.
That's in fact, I actually think it's morally wrong at some level that you would advocate that other people have a coach but not have one yourself. I think it's scandalous, absolutely scandalous, and don't get me started on that, Ed.
you know, guys, the thing that I think is a really powerful consideration for a coach that says, I can't quite afford that. Maybe it's a new coach, or maybe it's somebody that's been doing it a while, and they go, I can't spend $30,000 or $50,000 or whatever that number is, or maybe it's $10,000. I don't know, whatever that number is. The problem with that mentality is that it's really hard with integrity to sell yourself having value if you don't believe in it enough to have it for yourself. Yeah. How could you possibly come across to somebody as being in integrity and being real if you're not willing to do what you're suggesting they do and spend their money on? You're not going to do it? Give me a break. Nobody's going to hire you, or not.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Drew. After you.
Going to say, Terry, do you have any more questions to ask?
No, I want to share with you, Damon. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been absolutely fantastic, and just let you know, Damon. People tease me about the speed I talk at and my enthusiasm. You make me seem like I'm half asleep listening to you.
You know, you guys, one of the things that I think is super funny is I'll listen to podcasts and I'll listen to audiobooks, and I put them at 2 or 3 times speed, and I listen to them probably about the rate I speak, and I laugh, and I think, if somebody's listening to me the way I talk, and I'm all excited and caffeinated and I'm speaking this way, there's no way that they can put me at 2 or 3 times speed, because it would sound like Mickey Mouse with nitrous. It's impossible. So I just crack up. I go, well, everybody's going to have to change their speed listening to these interviews.
Brilliant.
But it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Damien, for sharing so much with us and sharing your journey and your highs and your lows. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, Damion, where can our listeners go to find out more about what you do and connect with you?
All right, guys. If you guys want to send them to our website, guys, if you're listening and you want to learn more, please come to totalcontrolfinancial.com/Drew and Terry. And I'll have my books on there. You can also find me on Amazon. And you can listen if you want to listen to my voice in the books. You can listen to that. But totalcontrolfinancial.com/Drew and Terry. And I'd love to give folks a copy of my books and share what I've learned, because I really believe that the power is in leveraging off of other people's experience and not having to do the same things over and over. And that's really what my books and my stories and my experiences that I'm sharing are all about. It's about sharing that stuff so that you can do better instead of having to do the same.
Yeah. And we talked off air that you're on LinkedIn, so I'm just gonna and you're okay for people to reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I love it when people reach out. Yeah, please, reach out. I'm going to email you back. I'm going to connect. I love hearing from people, so please do that.
So I'm just going to spell your name. So Damion is Damion, and the surname is Lupo for Peter O. So that's Lupo.
Perfect.
So yeah, please connect. Should you so wish with Damion on LinkedIn? Go to the website and get some of the free stuff there. But yeah, just do what you can to get more of this stuff. It's absolutely fantastic.
Great stuff. And thanks for listening. Remember, if you've enjoyed this show, of course, reach out to Damion, but remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a review as well. And for show notes and additional resources, head over to maverickmarketerunleashed.com. That's maverickmarketerunleashed.com. Damion, one more time, can you give us your website again?
You bet. totalcontrolfinancial.com/Drew and Terry.
Brilliant. And Damion, again, thanks for coming on the show.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure and a blast.
Great stuff. I will speak with you again soon. Until then, take care, take action, and be relentless.
www.maverickmarketerunleashed.com.